Hello lovelies, how are you all doing today? I hope you are well. I am. And we're going to do some cooking today. I'm going to do a recipe with you. Can't wait, it looks lovely. But I thought just before I dive into the recipe, I'll just take a little moment to reflect on how cooking has changed for me in the last couple of years, and it's kind of almost gone back to how I used to cook when I was working years ago. And it's ostensibly because until 2 years ago I had the allotment, and essentially I cooked whatever I was harvesting. Lean months, what's it called, the hungry gap, what's in the freezer. But yeah, so essentially I wasn't really using recipe books very much, if at all. Just literally coming home with a basket of harvested stuff. What can I make from it? What can I eat from this? I was still buying things like rice and lentils and chickpeas. I did grow chickpeas on the allotment, but I used to scoff them all green because they're so lovely fresh. Anyway, so having given up the allotment, now that I'm back to sort of buying pretty much all my veg, a little bit from the garden, it suddenly occurred to me, it's like, oh, well, I can, if I'm buying my veg anyway, I can buy veg according to a recipe, and I can kind of come back to my recipe books, which is great. More variety. Just to say, before I do forget, on this one, in today's recipe I'm using tomatoes from the garden last year, still. I haven't quite got any ripe ones, but I think I've got enough portions of tomatoes in the freezer to see me through until the first of this year's harvests come, which is fantastic, which means I've been self-sufficient in tomatoes for a whole year just from this tiny little garden. Woo! Anyway, so yes, now using recipe books, and the one I'm going to do today is from the new Dale Pinnick book, Plant-Based Diet, that my friend Kate sent to me. And if you remember, she made the joke about you could add cheese to any of these. So today's recipe is one that I could add cheese to at the end, a little sprinkle on top. I'm not going to though. But when I look at recipes now, because it's fun to dive in, I mean, a lot of the time it's more about inspiration rather than necessarily slavishly following. And I've mentioned before that sometimes I'll look at a recipe and I'll think, oh, that looks really yummy, but I don't have one of the ingredients, or one of the ingredients is something I don't want to use, like potatoes, whatever. Can I swap it for something else? So yeah, use recipe books as inspiration, but don't worry if there's one ingredient you don't have. It might be something you can swap out. But a big consideration for me when I look, so with this one, I saw the picture, as I mentioned, going through the book, I was putting markers in and then realised that literally everything in here is something I would like to eat. Salivating at the thought already. So when I look at a recipe, there's a couple of considerations. The first has got to be, do I love the look of it? Is it appealing to me? Because if it's not appealing to me, obviously I'm not going to make it. So firstly, do I like the look of it? But then getting into the nitty-gritty, a lot of these, there's a whole section, there's a whole baked section, so everything goes in the oven. And at the moment, I'm still trying not to use the oven too much. Maybe once a month, it's a bit of a treat, because it is really expensive. Now, I don't think folk in other parts of the world realise quite how expensive our fuel is. So much so, a few days ago, I did some research on global fuel prices, what we're paying in different countries around the world, and it's really quite shocking. That's a whole one I'm going to dive into when I do a chatty video. It's not for today. We want to get on with the recipe. But yeah, it's a huge consideration. So if I see oven, right at the start of the recipe, preheat the oven to 200 degrees, I think, I've used the oven once this month already, maybe I'll save that. So at the moment I'm avoiding the oven dishes. Is it a stove top? Great. And is it one pot or two pots on the stove? Great. If it's 3 or 4 pots on the stove top, I might be thinking, oh, that's a lot of fuel, maybe not. So the fuel consumption is a consideration. But then also with the ingredients, there was one, what was, I can't remember what I was looking at, is with aubergine, and I haven't bought an aubergine for ages, but I remember from the days when I did used to buy them, that was always a more expensive veg to have in a dish. So I might think twice. Actually, I think on my next shopping expedition, I'm going to look to see how much aubergines cost. Rather than writing a recipe off right now, it might be that they're not too expensive. But that would be another consideration. Is one of the ingredients expensive? Or, for example, are all the ingredients I'm going to have to buy? If I don't have any of those ingredients in stock, that would make me think twice. I don't think that's going to happen very often though, because generally in my pantry, as it were, you know, things in terms of, say, lentils, rice, all the different herbs and spices, I have a big spice collection. So that kind of store cupboard stuff I should normally be okay with. But yeah, those are some of my considerations. There was one recipe I looked at and it asked for passata rather than a tin of tomatoes. So I look at that and I can think, well, I don't have passata, and rather than going and buying some, use the tomatoes I've got, whiz them up really, really fine, sieve them, because essentially passata is sieved tomatoes, sieve them to get bits out, and I could put it on the hob for a few minutes on quite a hard simmer, just to help it thicken down a bit. Or I could say, well, I can't be bothered with any of that, I'm just going to use a tin of tomatoes instead of the passata. So I'm going to do that swapsy. Anyway, that's enough of that. Yeah, it's fun to be back to recipe books. It's fun to let the inspiration hit. The one I'm going to do today is sun-dried tomato and red pepper risotto. Lovely. Really looking forward to it because I do like risotto, but I'm trying to use less cheese when I'm cooking because cheese is quite expensive, and I love hard cheeses, but our hard cheeses are not necessarily good for our heart. So the idea of having a risotto without any cheese, I thought, yeah, let's give it a go. That will be, yeah, it'll be at least fun to try. I'm sure it will be tasty, even without the cheese. So without further ado, I'm looking over there. Let's go and check out the ingredients. And there's one I want to just talk about. I'll talk about it when we're over there. Oh, lovely ingredients. Lots of red. This recipe is really great for vitamin A. And vitamin A is really great as an antioxidant, particularly useful in the summer when my skin is getting more sun than usual. Anyway, never mind what it's good for. Let's check out the ingredients. Colour, light is a bit tricky today, as always, but in here, not necessarily looking particularly red. These are sun-dried tomatoes. That's about 100 grams. So I'm just moving the camera. About 100 grams. I'm going to talk about the rest of them in a second. So 100 grams of dried tomatoes, then 200 grams of risotto rice. That's already had a wash, which is why it looks a bit clumpy. It's slightly damp. A tin of tomatoes, or if you're me, a portion of tomatoes from the freezer. A couple of lovely red peppers. So I think most of you will have probably quite a lot of this in your store cupboard, but the peppers I did have to buy. Hopefully towards the end of the summer and going into September, I'll have my own peppers from the garden coming round the other way. Some garlic, 3 garlic, red onion, stock, and I'll be making up, well, the recipe says a litre of stock. You may need more, you may need less. When I do risotto, I always do a little bit extra stock because you don't want to get right towards the end of cooking and go, oh no, run out of stock, right, quick, go and make some more stock. So I'll probably make up about 1.25 litres, and then some olive oil. So yeah, like I said, you probably have most of, you know, tomatoes, rice, sun-dried tomatoes. I think most of us have in our store cupboard. Tomatoes from the garden, later on in the year, hopefully garlic from the garden, and then later on in the year, hopefully peppers from the garden too. So that'll bring the cost down even more. Fab. Now let me just, a quick word about the sun-dried tomatoes. The sun-dried tomatoes actually came in a sort of vacuum bag, so they're sun-dried tomatoes in oil. I think he mentions in the recipe about using the ones not in oil have a better flavour. I mean, they're all blooming gorgeous, aren't they? Anyway, so I've opened this today. There are 500 grams in here. I'm only using 100 in the recipe. Just put that gently there. I can freeze the rest. It's okay to freeze them. So I now have 4 portions of sun-dried tomatoes, still with a bit of oil in there. These will freeze for 8 to 12 months. I should have gone through them back. Well, they won't last that long, I'll go through them. The other thing is I really want to defrost the freezer, so I'm trying to use up my stocks of everything. So yeah, it looks like in the next 2 or 3 weeks or so I will definitely be having a few more recipes with sun-dried tomatoes in. But yeah, they're perfectly okay to freeze. Just make sure, you know, you've got good airtight containers. Grand, no waste. Right, I need to get chopping. Let me start chopping and then we'll reconvene. Bog standard risotto making. So a bit of oil started to warm it up, and in first of all goes the onion, garlic, sun-dried tomatoes, all just rough chopped. Oh, that oil's not that warm. Let's warm it up a bit more. So these will, I'll just give these about sort of 8 to 10 minutes. Let's get every last bit of garlic. Oh, I love it. It's really hard chopping up the sun-dried tomatoes not to pop them in like little sweeties. Yeah, give that 10 minutes or so, get it all softened down. And can you see, yeah, it feels really dark in here today, it's ridiculous. It's because the sun hasn't quite moved around enough to be bouncing off my neighbour's house and bouncing into the kitchen and giving me extra light. But anyway, they're going to soften down, and I've got queued up ready. I've got the tomatoes and the rice because that will be the next stage. So these have 10 minutes, then they'll go in. So in the meantime, back to the other end of the kitchen to do the last bit of prep. And oh, and you'll see on the back of the stove, I've got, that's going to clatter, I've got a pan ready and my ladle. So once these are done in about 10 minutes, I'll start to warm that pan to receive the stock. So when I make the stock up with boiling water, pop it in there, that pan will be warm already, and then I'll put it on a really, really, really low heat, the lowest heat possible, just so that as I'm adding it, it'll be hot, warm, hot. The last thing you want to do is just have the stock there, add a bit, and gradually the stock is getting colder and colder, and every time you add a bit you drop the temperature in the pan, have to wait for that temperature to come up again. So yeah, get your back pan ready for your stock, so we keep our stock nice and hot through the process. Right, a little bit more chopping. It's like with any recipe, isn't it, the first time you do it, you try to work out the ergonomics of it to try and condense the time as much as possible because you just want to eat. Although in fairness, risotto is never a quick dish. I know there are quick versions of it where you put all the water in at once and just walk away. I actually like making risotto the slow way, a scoopful, a ladleful at a time. It's just nice kind of quiet time in the kitchen. But yeah, working out the ergonomics in terms of get those first few things chopped and underway, and because they're going to take 8 or 10 minutes, okay, right, that's the time to do my last bits. There's not a lot to do, it's just the peppers and getting the stock on and ready. I can't wait to have my own peppers again this year, that's so exciting. I mean, I hope I'm going to have some. I've had lots of flowers. I've been trying to spy, and I think a couple of the fruits have set, so yippee! Yeah, it'll be really lovely to have my own again. It's been a while. So the other thing, just whilst I was off camera, all those sun-dried tomatoes that were divvied out into the little bits of Tupperware. You know, I love my Tupperware. Anyone who is self-sufficient or a prepper or whatever else will have the most fantastic collection of Tupperware. You know a serious self-sufficiency person by their Tupperware. And having those all sorts of sizes, but for me as a singleton, having those smaller sizes, like for the coulis, for a portion of curry paste, you name it, they're brilliant. And those little ones, the sun-dried tomatoes have just gone in. Great, perfect size for them. So while I was putting them away, this is the point I was meaning to make, I just clocked, because I've put them in the same drawer as my tomatoes, I've got the equivalent of 5 tins of tomatoes left from the garden last year. Amazing. Will that do me till the next lot coming? Because I've actually got tons of meals, frozen meals in there. I think I've got, it was something like 20, right, in terms of soups, I think I've got about 10 soups in there. And in terms of meals, evening meals, I think there's about 20, 22 in there. So I'm planning on eating from the freezer a lot in the next 2 weeks. I want to eat it all down. So I might not even use those 5 remaining portions. I'll find a way. But yeah, so having had a look in there now and clocking the how many portions of tomatoes I still had, I did think to myself, right, I need to do a little inventory. Hang on a tick, I'm just going to lift that lid a little bit. Yeah, I need to do, oh, excuse me. Just turn the heat down a bit. That sound that you just heard, that sounds like moo. That's my self-closed drawer. That it goes almost all the way and then it kind of slows down and goes moo. Do you remember these toys that were like a little cylinder, pictures of cows on it, and if you tipped it upside down and then back the right way, it would go moo. My kitchen drawer does it. I digress. Yes, so I think an inventory of everything that's left in the freezer, and also for those of you who also kind of fill your freezer with your home grown produce, whether it's allotment or garden, this is probably a really good time for you to think about doing yours too. Actually, some of you will already be harvesting loads, I know, but before it gets really, really, really hectic with the harvest, is to think about using this time to defrost the freezer. Apart from the fact that it's warm, so it should defrost pretty quickly, just get it done in time for all the new harvests. So I think I've got a bit of cauliflower in there. I think I've got 1 portion or 1 tray worth of sweet potato that's all chunked up. And having mentioned that I've got about 10 soups, I might just have a look at all those different, I think I've got 1 tray of leeks in there, bits and bobs. I think I'm going to have a soup making session. But it'll be good to get everything used up, get the appliance defrosted and cleaned, and have the excitement of filling it all up again. Yay! Oh, although it does always feel a little bit, it's always, I don't know how to put this, nerve-wracking, is that the right word? I feel a bit nervous when I empty the freezer completely, or I'm feeling that way about this one, because of course in London, because I had 3 freezers, I could jiggle it so that as let's say 2 of them were kind of half empty. If number 1 and number 2 were half empty and number 3 was still full, I could put all of number 1 into number 2 and defrost it, and then all of number 2 back into number 1 to defrost number 2, likewise. So I was never completely down to an empty freezer. So yeah, this is going to be a bit, I don't know, it's food security, isn't it? You know, it's because food's expensive. Anyway, I'm going to carry on with this, getting my peppers chopped. I'm going to make up, I'm using powdered stock powder. It's the bouillon, the marigold bouillon that I use. People often ask me, do you not make your own stock? from peelings. Well, to be honest, I have so few peelings because I tend to eat the skins of all my veggies as well. Just keeping it on that pan. So honestly, it would probably take me about 3 months to have enough peelings saved in the freezer to make 1 litre of stock. And I probably get through, you know, 2 or 3 litres at least of stock every week. So when I have bits to use, like in the allotment days, whenever I was thinning, at this sort of like, it would be a bit earlier in the year than this, but if I was thinning, say, the carrot bed, the fennel bed, whatever it was, all those thinnings would come home, and yes, I'd make stock. But as a general rule, I just don't have enough stuff to make stock with. Right, I'm going to get on with this and reconvene back the other way as things get underway. Oh, everything's happening at once. That's the kettle just about to boil for the stock. I've just, well, about 2 minutes ago, I added just a little tiny drop of water to deglaze the bottom of the pan, because I don't know whether it's this hob, I think it's either too hot or too cold, but it was just starting to catch a bit. I think with the sun-dried tomatoes, it was just starting to catch. So yeah, note to everyone else. So in goes the risotto rice. If you're making this, do keep an eye, or as it was for me, it was my ear that alerted me. the sound changed. But you might just need to add a little bit of liquid. So risotto rice in, the equivalent of 1 tin of tomatoes in, and these, give all the good scrod around. So normally making a risotto, I put the rice in after the onions have had their go. I then put the rice in and get it really coated in the oil or butter or whatever you've used as a base before adding any liquid, i.e. the tomatoes. But I'm following his recipe, and he says to now cook that for about 8 minutes. So I'll just pop the lid mostly back on. I'll go and make up the stock, pop the stock in the back pan, and then in about 8 minutes or so I can start adding it by the ladleful. Can't wait to eat. I didn't think I was hungry, but as I'm doing this now, I'm getting really hungry. Okay, good, let's get on. Oh, getting steamy. So the tomatoes and rice, they've had about 6 or 7 minutes, or it took, they've cooked down a bit, so now it's time to start adding stock. I will do a couple of ladles at a time, that's not huge ladles. So what's unusual with this recipe is, and just to reiterate, that's on a very, very, very low heat, just to keep the heat in it. Yeah, what's unusual with this is most of the cooking is done. The peppers are sitting, isn't that a gorgeous sight? They were going to come over here, but my lids are going to be coming on and off and on and off. Yeah, I would have thought the peppers would go in at an earlier stage. So he reckons about 30 to 40 minutes of stock adding, and then add the peppers at the end and cook for a further 10 minutes or so until they're softened. We'll see how it goes, but I would be more inclined to put them in at the beginning with my onions and sun-dried tomatoes. Anyway, for once I'm actually following a recipe properly and not making up my own things as I go along. So yeah, a minute or so, that will absorb, and then I'll do another 2 ladleful. A couple of minutes, it'll absorb, and so on. I'm not going to keep you here for that whole time. It is a slow thing. I'm going to pop the radio back on. Just started to film this bit, the radio was still on. I suddenly thought, oh quick, radio off. So yeah, I will keep myself happy listening to the radio, adding stock, and we'll reconvene when it's time for the peppers to go in, and more importantly, when it's time to start salivating. I hope. I think we're nearly there. I think we're getting close. I'm going to add the peppers now. As I've been sort of hopping up and down from my chair to add another ladleful, give it a stir, sit back for a couple of minutes, jump up again, I was thinking, you know, it's so lovely the slow food movement began in Italy, so I mean this is such an Italian dish, isn't it, risotto? So why not honour the slow food movement every now and again by cooking something slowly? I think I'll just give that a bit more liquid. I know we're all time pressured a lot of the time, but every now and again it is nice to do something slowly to really be in the moment with it and appreciate it. Appreciate the colours, the smells, the textures, appreciate that, you know, celebrating in 15-20 minutes or at the beginning of the process, in an hour's time I'm going to sit down and eat really lovely food. And even more special if you're doing it for friends, sitting together. I absolutely love the slow movement, and I think, you know, we see a lot of, go online, if you put in slow food movement, you'll find all sorts, including lots of recipes, but also in general the slow living movement. It's not to be confused with being lazy and not doing anything. So, oh, I'm living slow. Living slow, one is still productive, one still gets things done, but it's about, for me anyway, I feel like it's about being more present, being in that moment, and really appreciating what it is you're doing. So if you're doing a task, I've got to get on with some weeding, for instance, but if you're doing that, do it the slow way, as in really focus on it, appreciate all the different smells that you're getting, appreciate the textures of the plants that you're, you know, weeding around, appreciate the sounds you're hearing. For me that will be gulls and sparrows chirping away. Yeah, so it's definitely not about being lazy and doing nothing. It's about doing things with intention and focus and really being in that moment and observing whilst you're there. Okay, so that's going to have about another 10 minutes, I think, and I'm really looking forward to having a scoff now. I have just grated a tiny little bit of Parmesan because I do want to try it with a bit of Parmesan. It's got to be done, hasn't it? It's a happy sound, isn't it? And a happy sight. I've given it a few taste tests already. Goodness me, it is so intensely, gorgeously tomatoey. Right, just a few more minutes to soften those peppers and then it's scoff time. I can't wait any longer. So one thing I've had to teach myself, and I still do sometimes forget with this electric hob, is that even once I've turned the hob off, there's still quite a bit of heat from the ring. So where the risotto is over here to cook, move it off. I think it happened one time when I was cooking, for the guys, and oh my goodness, it's like, oh no, now the bottom is burnt, because there were a few more minutes of cooking happening, even with the heat off. And the other thing to remember, and I've forgotten this loads of times over the years, and then you smell it later, turn off the ring that your stock was sitting on, because by now, well, mine's got about maybe half a centimetre of stock in the bottom of the pan. Forget that the pan isn't turned off, go away, have my supper, oh, enjoy it, take my time. What's that smell? Oh, it's the stock pan. Anyway, oh my goodness, I am dying to get my laughing gear around this. Come on, let's go to the table. Oh, yum. The light in here doesn't do it justice. It's much more sort of orangey red than that. It looks quite brown in this image. It isn't brown, it's definitely orangey red. Can't wait. Fuff it. So in the past, when I've made risottos, goodness me, while the pan is still on the stove, I love to fold in a whole ton of Parmesan into the whole thing, then serve it up and have more Parmesan sprinkled on the top. Good grief! So I'm hoping that I really like this, because yeah, I need to kind of cut down on that cheese somewhat. So let's have a morsel. Oh, that's so yummy. Oh my goodness, that's good. The peppers are still a bit crunchy, there's still a bit of bite to them. They have softened, but there's a bit of bite. I like that actually. So there was me saying I might put the peppers in at the beginning. Ignore what he's done. No, Vivi, don't ignore Mr. Pinnock, do what he says. That's really nice having that bit of bite. The tomato is so beautiful. It's intense. It's really deep flavour. Obviously there's a tin of tomatoes in it and all the sun-dried, but it's got a lovely deep, there's a sweetness to it, but it's really kind of mellow. Almost, it's not smoky, but it's on that kind of, yeah, the mellow note. That's really yummy. I'm not missing the cheese. Excuse me. Oh, that's definitely a keeper. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Dale. Oh, that is really, really lovely. Now, the recipe said serves 4. I think looking in the pan, I haven't divvied up yet, I think it might do me 5, which makes it even more economical. I didn't work out the maths, the cost on this one. I literally bought the peppers, everything else I had already, but anyway, I think we'll make 5. So I'm going to need to freeze some, that's fine. I've always frozen risotto in the past because, well, I'm not going to make a risotto for one. All that time and effort to make one portion. So I'm always going to portion it up and do 4 or 5. It's okay from the freezer. It's not as good as the day it's cooked. It doesn't have that same creaminess to it because it does go dry is the wrong word. Dry is going to make it sound awful. It's just not as creamy. It's a bit thicker and stodgier, but I mean, still lovely. And let's face it, a meal from the freezer, how great if you're feeling really tired. I've just realised I'm supposed to be emptying my freezer, aren't I? Got to have another mouthful. It's really, really lovely. I'm surprised I'm not missing the cheese, but yeah, great for that. Anyway, I'm going to start waffling and I want to get my snout in this trough because it is really yummy. So I'll see you all soon. What are we doing next? Oh yeah, probably the garden. Probably do some slow living weeding. It never ends, does it? But, you know, again, it's just like I was saying before, it's a time to just be in the moment and appreciate sounds, sights, smells, textures. Just find a way to enjoy it. Anyway, that's for another day. Until then, please stay well. Have fun experimenting in your kitchens. Give this one a go. It's really yummy. I will go now. See you soon. Until then, for now, cheerio.